Hey guys, Ryan here. Welcome to the show. And as our intro, we always give a shout out to the new High Society members. Currently, there aren't any right now that are new, but we do have the Alpha, which is the top tier. So, in that top tier, we have Zane William Nisley, Jeff Frank, Bruce Willis, Barbarian Arm Wrestling, and Ready Go Garb. Ready Go Garb has bumped up their pledge, and we have them now in the alpha level. So thank you very much to those guys. For those of you that don't know, there are Patreon levels at patreon.com/Mr. Espey. You can join for as low as $2 a month, and you get exclusive access to content that's not shared on other platforms. An example of that is the Back to Jack series that's chronicling my weight loss journey throughout all this. The only people that get to see those videos are Patreon members. Also, you get early releases. So, for example, the Kody Merritt video, that is seen by Patreon members much earlier than the rest of the world. So in this case, it's a week early. The next tier is the High Society tier, which is $5 a month. You get access to monthly exclusive Patreon content, just like the tip jar level for $2. High Society being $5. You get your name listed in all the YouTube descriptions. You get a shout out on the show when you are brand new to that tier. And then the $10, the alpha level, it's only $10. You get all these benefits. You get your weekly shout out on the show. So every single week, like I just did, you're going to get that shout out. You get access and top priority to ask our guests questions. And both of those tiers, the High Society and the Alpha, you also get coupon codes. So right now, our Teespring store that just opened, you get a 30% off code to access the Teespring store. And all those links are in the video description or down below. So make sure you click on those and check them out. Thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned. We got the show coming right up right now. Hey, welcome to the show. So we are here with Kody Merritt. Now, Kody, for those of you that don't know what you've gone through over the past little while, we said that we would talk about it when it was all kind of, there was an outcome, correct?
Yes.
So let's go all the way back to the beginning.
Okay.
Now,
1974.
1974. God, you're older than me. But let's talk about leading up to the WAF championships.
Okay.
So at some point, you were prescribed TRT.
Yes.
Now that's testosterone replacement therapy for those of you that do not know. And at what point did that happen?
I'm gonna say it's been almost 2 years now, or right around 2 years ago. So mid-summer 2018-ish.
Okay,
Maybe.
So we're really into this, right?
Yeah.
So when you and I arm wrestled in Turkey, you were already on TRT.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So fast forward, we go through all that. There was we did not get drug tested in Turkey because, oddly enough, they ran out of tests by the time we were done our matches. So when we were done pulling, I walked off the stage and I walked up to the anti-doping table, and they're like, well, we can't test you. We're all out of tests. We used them up for the day. And that happened both days.
Really?
But, yeah. So I was used to going up to that table. And it was always post-match testing they did.
Uh-huh.
So we fast forward to the 2019 WAF championships. And what happened there? Like, you got plucked out of the lineup, correct? And the weigh-in.
So yeah, we went in for Team USA weigh-ins, and they had a little DP next to my name on their little list of athletes. And so they look through that, and he sees that, and he says, okay, come sit down here. So he kind of leads me over to this chair, and he's kind of abrupt about it. I'm like, whoa, what's going on? And I asked him, I said, what's happening? What's that, the little letters for? And he says it's for doping. And I'm like, okay. So they had actually pre-picked my name before the tournament to get a test done for the anti-doping. I'm like, all right.
So the random tests weren't necessarily random.
Well, I don't know how they had chose my name. I have no idea how they picked me, but they had my name picked. They could have chose it randomly. I don't know, but when I got there, it had already been picked.
Okay. So at this point, have you got any reason to be concerned whatsoever?
No, I actually don't, because I hadn't done anything illegal in my mind. I had never taken a substance that I wasn't supposed to take.
Okay, so you have were you aware of like the therapeutic use exemption forms and all of that stuff that you were supposed to fill out?
So I was, but I was kind of naive about it. Like, I didn't know exactly what they were and what they meant, but I figured if well, first of all, I never in the world thought I had cheated, so I never thought I had anything to worry about.
Right.
So I wasn't really under the understanding of what it was. I mean, I know what it is now.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand it fully at that time.
Right. So I don't know how it operates in the United States with Simon kind of at the helm running things for WAF. But we do, before we head over to a tournament, our CAWF president has been sending out forms for therapeutic use exemption and asks for a list of everything we're on as far as medications, supplementation, all that kind of stuff. Now, obviously, that didn't happen in your case.
No, I mean, Simon had talked about it at Nationals. He got us all together, the ones that had qualified, and he had said he had talked about it a little bit, but I kind of, being young or new to it, naive, I didn't really pay that much attention. And then he and I had spoke on the phone a little bit after that about stuff, and I guess really I just figured I was going to go without it and see how things go, because I didn't really think I had done anything wrong in that regard.
Okay. All right. So you obviously go on to have a very successful WAF tournament.
Yeah.
You win not only the Masters, but you win the Open class as well. The Seniors, I think they call it.
Yeah, I won the left-hand Masters. I took third right-handed Masters, and then won the Seniors/Open class left-hand.
So you got 2 golds and a bronze at this point.
Yes.
And you're on a high as high can be.
Oh yeah, I felt it was like the most emotional week of my life. I felt like it was amazing. It was the coolest thing I'd ever happened other than marrying my wife and my daughter being born. It was right up there.
Yeah.
So
now you come home. When do you get any kind of communication stating that something is wrong?
So I didn't even kind of fly buzzing in my face here. Sorry. I got what was it? A Facebook message from Dean Bolt in the UK, and he had sent me a link saying, and it was a link for people that had tested positive for anti-doping at the Worlds, and my name was on it. I hadn't heard anything about it. I hadn't seen or done or knew anything about it at that time. But the WF had posted it on Facebook and on their website before I had ever seen anything.
Okay. So that's kind of how I found out about it.
Yeah, that's exactly. That's how I had heard about it. And matter of fact, that day I called a lot of people to let them know that this is shouldn't be. I wasn't right, and you were one of the first people I called because of respect for you and wanting to hold face, I guess, more than anything, because maybe this is stupid sounding, but my reputation and who I am means a lot to me.
Well, I get that completely. I mean, it's that can really put a scar on a career, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you find this out, via the website posting. No one had contacted you, which is it seems odd to me that they wouldn't contact the athletes first.
Yeah, I think they would let them know what's going on prior to posting it. So what had happened, I guess, is they actually do send an email out the day prior. Well, they sent an email.
Uh-oh.
Someone, sorry, I just had a call. I had to ignore it.
Okay.
They sent an email out to someone who isn't even involved with the WAF anymore. They had accidentally sent it to the wrong person, so I didn't get it because of that reason.
Okay, so you hear about it the hard way. You hear about it at the same time the rest of us hear it.
And after now, most people, actually.
Yeah, and then the world is kind of reacting to all of this. One of the things they're reacting to, some people are supportive, some people are not so supportive.
Yeah.
And flying off the handle before they have all the information.
Yeah.
But
some people saying things that are completely untrue, like no truth to them whatsoever.
Yeah. So you and I talked, and you told me what had happened, and take us forward from there. I assume the next call was to Simon at some point.
I tried. Actually, I tried to get a hold of Simon. I called Bob Brown, who tends to know a lot of people, and he actually sent a message to the individual who got the email. I don't want to point out names and get anybody in trouble. I'm not really trying to get the WAF in trouble either. But that person looked into, because they asked how that could happen, being that this person had been involved with WAF for years, how it could happen that an athlete would not be notified prior to the world knowing. So he contacted that person, and that person just happened to look at his email, and he actually had the result information in his email, so he forwarded it on, and that's how I ended up actually getting the information.
So
quite honestly, that's the first time I'd actually seen the documentation.
So the person may not have were they not aware that they had that email sitting there?
They at that time they didn't, because this was the day after, and he maybe only checks his email, I don't know how often, but
yeah. Gotcha.
So at that point, that's how I had actually found out about it. And then I actually forwarded that on to Simon so that he could see it. And that's the first time Simon got it as well.
Okay. So then what happens?
Then I'm trying to figure out what's going on, because I'm freaking out. I didn't know what, they give you a couple different options. You can ask for the second sample, the B sample, to be tested, which I don't have the kind of money for that stuff to happen.
Plus, the B sample is going to show the same thing as the A sample.
Yeah, because and I actually told them at the testing everything that I was on. I listed it all out on their little document of everything I was using. I told them about everything, and so I wasn't hiding anything. There was nothing for me to hide. So I'm starting to wonder, there's no reason to pay for a B sample because it's going to come with the same thing, and I don't have the money for it. But I didn't think I'd done anything wrong, so there's an arm wrestler in the United States, Edward Grossman. He's a ultra grandmaster arm wrestler and just a great guy, but he's an attorney and a really good attorney. And I sent him the information saying, what do you think I should do about this? And he's not a sports anti-doping lawyer by any means, but he started doing some research and found an attorney in California that specializes in this exact type of stuff. So he got me his information, and I called that person just to see what my options were. And he gave me a couple different options, and one option, the cheap option, was going to be $10,000 to fight this.
Holy smokes.
The expensive option, he said, could be up to $30,000. And I'm like, it's not worth. I don't make that money. I can't afford that, and it's not worth it to me to even try and fight it for that amount of money. And that guy's like, even if they do accept the TUE and all this other stuff, there's still issues you're going to have, and you're going to end up with. He figured the best I could do is like lower my suspension if I end up getting a suspension, and he so I figured well, if that's the case, I can talk to WF myself for free and explain exactly what happened, because like I said, I didn't have anything to hide. So the WF gave me a certain amount of time to respond about what I wanted to do. I don't remember how much it was. It was like a month or something, time to respond. And I think this was in January, around the middle to late part of January when this information came out. So Ed helped me put together a letter saying what my situation was, and we sent that off to the WAF, and they actually said, okay, we'll allow you to submit a TUE R, I think it is, so it's a therapeutic use exemption retroactive.
Okay, yeah.
So what I did then is I met with my doctor, and she and I put down all the times I had been to her. So the things that I actually tested positive for, there showed 3 different things I tested positive for, but 2 of them were from the exact same medicine. So one is the TRT, the testosterone replacement treatment, and then the other 2 were for my high blood pressure pill. Which I had never in my mind would I think like a blood pressure pill would make you exempt from arm wrestling or for competing internationally. I had no idea. And I guess what people use that medicine for is a flusher, because it's a blood thinner and it helps things go through your system faster. I didn't know that. I had no idea. No clue whatsoever. So she put down, we went clear back to the beginning and started listing out all my doctor's office visits, what my testosterone scores were, why she suggested I'm where I'm at. I had every blood test I'd ever had done on it. I sent into them, along with the blood pressure medicine prescriptions, and sent it off. And I sent that off to them. It was like end of March-ish, middle of March, somewhere in there. And then I just waited for a response from them, and I
we're
never
talking
heard.
March of 2020 here, right?
Yeah. So I found out about it.
We're in the thick of the COVID stuff as well.
Yeah, well, it was just getting started is when it was really coming on. But I didn't hear anything back from them until April 20th, saying they are going. What they said is that the WF had accepted my TUE.
Okay.
But they had to send it off to WADA, the World Anti-Doping Association, and the USADA, which is United States Anti-Doping Association.
USADA is hardcore compared to even WADA. Yeah.
So they sent them off to both of those places, and they said they had to wait for that. Well, that was it was April 20th, I think it was. So I hadn't heard anything at all summer long, and the only thing I could think of is I wasn't getting responses from WAF. At one time I even had called USADA itself to see if they knew anything that's going on with it. And I spoke to a guy, and he's like, "Yeah, I see your name in here. I see your testing in here." And he looked through the stuff that was on the test and my TUE stuff, and he starts talking about. He's like, it's hard to figure out how this works. WADA can sometimes. Sorry, I got a little congested throat today. He says sometimes WADA does things we have no idea. It blows our minds, and then sometimes they reverse TUEs for the good. Sometimes they reverse them for the bad. We really don't know. So that didn't help me at all. I thought, this is never going to happen. I don't know what's going on. But he said the reason why I think it's taking so long is everybody's working from their home.
Yeah.
And because it's not an essential job. And so I kind of figured that was the reason why it was taking so long to hear back. But it was tough because I had super match. Well, you and I had a super match planned out.
Yeah.
It would have actually been last weekend.
Yeah.
And I actually went to that. I went to that tournament last weekend just to hang out with my friends, and I didn't arm wrestle. I sat there and watched the whole thing, and missed out on some money cash prizes. And anyway, but so I had 3 different super matches that I had to call off because I had a couple different promoters call me about different super matches. I had Travis and I had a match lined up for May, 1st of May. Yes, I had a match with Robbie Topi middle of May, and then you and I had that match in August, and then Jeff Frank had contacted me about the match that we just announced with Alex Credentia. And I had a match offered to me in Kansas City at the end of the year, which I hadn't been able to accept any of them because I just didn't know. And while I was waiting to hear back from these guys, I had to be the part of the rules is you can't compete. So I wasn't able to commit to any matches or any tournaments whatsoever. And ironically, I went to this tournament this last weekend, thinking, man, I wish I could arm wrestle. I drove to South Dakota 10 hours to get there and just hang. I mean, I wanted to hang out with my buddies anyway. That's the reason why I went. But it would have been nice to be able to compete. Then I get home Monday and they send me an email saying, I had read it incorrectly. I thought it was just basically a copy of the email they had sent in April from the WAF. And so I responded saying, well, when am I going to hear from WADA and all this stuff?
Yeah.
And they responded the very next day saying, this is the final decision. I had failed to see there were some attachments to the email that had all the paperwork of the TUE being accepted, and that there was no violations found.
So we're recording this on August the 28th because we're releasing it in a week, right? So we're recording this on August 28th. So we're literally 4 days removed from you finding out.
Yeah, matter of fact, when I found out, you were like the 3rd or 4th person I contacted because I had promised you that I'd let you know that what was going on. So reflecting back on the whole thing, could you talk about the bit of the emotional roller coaster that happens between, the high of winning, the low of potentially being suspended and losing those gold medals, and then the return to, okay, now you're the world champion again, essentially, almost. Yeah. So my goal since I started arm wrestling 25 years ago was I wanted to be a world champion. And I didn't just want to be like a Masters world champion. I wanted to be a world champion. I wanted to be the best person at that tournament on that day. And you have to win the senior class, the open class, to have that title, right? So I entered the Masters having a pretty good feeling that I was going to win that class. Like the year before, I went through everybody except for you. And you not being there, I thought, hey, I have a pretty good shot of winning this class.
That's a fair statement.
And then my friends, Bob Brown, everybody said, well, you need to enter the open anyway. You're there, just we'll do it. And I thought, well, I think I can compete with these guys, but I just I had arm wrestled 3 days in a row, and I felt like I could actually compete in the seniors, but I didn't have a ton of confidence being that this was the 3rd day in a row of competing, and normally my arms don't hold up to that, and you can attest, like the midday through your second arm wrestling day with the same arm, your arms aren't happy with you, whatsoever, and
fair, yeah,
you're in pain, you're hurting all the time in between matches, and anyway, I had a great day. I don't think my draw was any better than anybody else's draw, because I had to go through some really good arm wrestlers. A guy from Armenia that was pretty good. I forget his name, David something. I had Fedet Osmanov, I think is his last name.
Oh yeah.
And he's the one he took second the year prior to Levon in the seniors. So I thought he was the biggest name I had to worry about. And when he and I lined up, he actually fouled out before we even had to arm wrestle. But well, we got the first start. I flopped his wrist and thought, oh, I've got this match. And he elbow fouled, so they restarted us. And then we couldn't get a grip. He was trying to negotiate not a fair grip. They put us in a referee's, and he cupped in while getting set up in the referees, and they fouled him out. So I actually got kind of lucky in that one, as I didn't have to arm wrestle him, that was the person I was most worried about. And then I had another match. I can't remember who it was. And I had then I had the match with Arif. And I can't remember Arif's last name, but he's the guy that took second to me and also won the right-handed open class. So he's super strong, and he's actually the reigning Turkish national champion. So he's good. He'd beaten Fedet already. Yeah, his arm is super strong. So I actually fouled out against him in the first match on the A-side bracket. We went, we slipped, we went into the strap. I was able to take his wrist, and I was working my way over to the pin pad, and in the transition to a press, my elbow popped up. It was the first foul. And the second foul, I missed the go, and I had to try and catch him. And as I did that, my elbow came off the side of the pad. So I fouled out in that match, and that was the A-side undefeated. So I had to come. I was already in the top 3, and I had to arm wrestle a Russian guy. I can't remember his name, but super strong kid as well. I beat him fairly easily, and then went to the finals against Arif. And I felt like I could beat him because I had already taken his wrist one time before. And each time we arm wrestled, he ended up getting just a little bit more tired, and I could feel his arm giving more and more, to where he actually had to. The way I actually beat him in the finals is he dropped into a King's move, and I mean, I was half an inch from pinning him, and they called him a foul for not coming up out of the King's move, and lost it because a foul in losing position, and gave me the match, which I felt like I had him beat anyway. But
yeah,
needless to say, he was an incredibly good arm wrestler and super strong. But at that moment, I realized that I had obtained this 25, 24-year-old goal of being a world champion. And like, I'm sitting in the crowd, a crowd full of alpha males and alpha females, and I'm literally sobbing. Like, I am just trying to control my emotions. I'm crying, and my wife's sitting aside of me, and she's kind of teary-eyed because of it. And it just was a crazy cool experience. And I'm on this high. I go home. It wasn't a half an hour after we had finished with the tournament and the announcing of who had won and getting our medals and all this. And we're back at the hotel, at the restaurant, getting some late night food because I hadn't eaten all day. And I'm getting messages from everybody. I'm getting promoters are sending me messages about, hey, I want you to arm wrestle this person. Hey, I want you to arm wrestle Travis. And I'm like, dude, like, I just barely did this. Let me breathe a minute. It just happened like moments ago. And I felt overwhelmed and excited. And it was just a really cool experience that, something you work really hard for a lot of your life, and finally comes to tuition, or fruition is the word I want to say.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was really emotional, and I was on that high for a couple of months because I didn't hear anything about the testing until January, and that's November. What was it? It was 1st of November was a tournament, so December. So it was basically 2.5 months out that I heard about it, and then everything just fell apart, and like it felt like someone just kicked me right square in the junk, and my stomach dropped. Everything was. I was just like, this is miserable. I even put on weight at that point because of how it was affecting me emotionally.
Right.
And the number one thing, it wasn't the fact that, well, it was important that I retained that world championship because that's something I'd worked so hard for. But the number one thing that I was worried about more than anything is my reputation, of who people thought I was, because I'm not that person. I'm not someone that will, and I'm not necessarily against people using steroids. I'm against using them because it's against my belief. I don't even drink alcohol, Ryan, because I won't put stuff in my body I don't like that I shouldn't. So I'm not necessarily against people using steroids, but I just choose not to because of that very situation. Well, now everybody in the world is going to think that I do, that I have, and that I'm a cheat. And that is the number one thing that hurt me. And I hated that feeling. I hated to think about my name being dragged through the mud. And it ended up being quite a bit by people. People I thought were my friends ended up being complete asshats about it.
Yeah.
This stupid fly.
True colors, right?
Yeah,
So,
you think things come out. The funny thing is, the person that gave me the most crap about it, talking about how I was super weak and couldn't beat anybody, and then all of a sudden I got so strong. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I took 9.5 years off. I had to train to get back to my fighting weight type of thing. And when I beat this individual quite easily, I wasn't even on testosterone at that time. It was before I'd even started using testosterone, and he's talking like it would have never happened if I hadn't been. So anyway, I felt like I was being attacked, and then I had a ton of people show a ton of support and respect and love. It was amazing in that regard. So yeah, the emotions went all over, and then this week when I got that email, it was crazy. I mean, the emotions went skyrocketed. I've already planned out 3 tournaments I'm going to as quick as I can. I got a big huge super match already planned for next year with Alex, and everything just went sky high again. So
nice. Well, hopefully,
yeah.
Well, this is the end of it. So now you are the reigning world champion, and there will not be a world champion in 2020. So you're just going to hold that title for 2 years.
Yeah. And that was actually a goal of mine. A U.S. arm wrestler hasn't won back-to-back titles since Cobra, and I think that was in '93.
Wow.
And I wanted to try and do that. I wanted to see if I could be that next person.
Yeah.
There's only 3 or 4 people total that have won a master and a seniors in the same year. So I felt pretty cool to be one of those people. And then I want to be the next U.S. arm wrestler to win back-to-back. So I had planned on going back to Georgia this year for Worlds until the whole COVID thing came. Well, until this anti-doping thing came out, and then COVID kind of messed everything up.
Yeah.
But so I'm gonna, as of right now, I think I'm gonna try and plan on going to Georgia next year and see if I can compete there.
I will. Yeah, it's a good goal. I think I'm probably going to do the IFA Worlds next year.
Okay.
But I've also talked to people that just outrightly say, I'm going to go there doped right up and just beat the test, which is, I don't like hearing that.
I've heard that as well.
Yeah. So I would rather.
People do that every year at the Worlds. They do it every year.
That's true. But since they implemented drug testing in 2005, it's really impacted the North American turnout at a lot of these large world level events. Yeah, you can see a guy guys like Levon, who there's 2 different versions of him. There's the WAF version, and then there's the Superman Hulk version that shows up at PAL. But it is what it is. I mean, I still find those tournaments to be quite valuable and something I want to continue to go to. But I'm happy that you're cleared of wrongdoing. You're still the world champ, and we don't have to worry about the suspensions or any of that stuff anymore.
Yeah, it's all in the clear, all is well. As far as I know, I can't figure out. I mean, I've had multiple people look at the paperwork they sent me, and they're like, "Yeah, you're good to go. Everything's in the clear."
Nice.
So that's the goal. So the things I want to do, I want to try WAF again. I want to go over to Zloty sometime. I'd like to give that a shot. And I don't know what time of the year next year that is. Maybe I can do both in the same year.
Yeah.
I'm going to Red Deer next year, which is going to be a great tournament.
Well, yeah. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Because you've got Alex Kurdecha.
Yes.
So the word is his left arm is incredible.
Yeah, I've heard that his left arm is, well, he even says his left arm's better than his right arm.
Yeah.
Which
but that's the case for us too, right?
Oh yeah. It is for me. It's like your right arm's at least a little bit competitive. My right arm's sad. It's like a joke. But like I'm kid you not. Like in Utah, I would be surprised if I'm even in the top 3 in Utah right-handed. But yeah, Alex's left is insane. And you and I've talked like what my weaknesses are, what my kryptonite is, and it's a long arm with a strong knuckles up move, which is your move to a T, which is why I can't get over that stupid mound. But I've been training it. Anyway, and Alex is very similar. He's got that really long arm. He likes the high post top roll type move, and it concerns me. I get a ton of people giving me lots of love, saying, "Oh, you can beat him. He's not all that." And I'm like, I see a whole bunch different than what other people see. He looks incredible to me, left-handed.
Yeah, he is. I'm very excited about the match.
Me too.
I think you have a harder day than I do next year.
Well, yeah, we have that. You've got that 4-man round robin, right?
Yeah.
There's some good people in that round robin, but I mean, don't sleep on any of them. That's for sure.
Oh, definitely not. And Travis is in there, so
yeah. And he'll come ready. He for something like that. I'm sure he won't just show up and say whatever. I don't care.
No, he'll come ready because if Ryan Espey gets a win on him, it's gonna damage the brand.
Yeah, it will, and he won't be able to call you a bum anymore.
No. I'm not shy about saying that.
He says it about me too, so we're just both bums in his eyes.
That's right. We are. But, yeah, we're a lot easier to find than he is sometimes for arm wrestling. So. Well,
that's true.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I've got planned out right now. That's my plan. I was really concerned about having to sit through a suspension, because if they gave me a 4-year suspension, I wouldn't be able to compete again until I'm 50, and that didn't sound great to me at all.
What a first offense suspension is?
Well, any suspension is a 4-year suspension unless you can mitigate the reason why it's on that suspension, and then they will lower it to a 2-year, and sometimes they did a 1 year, from what I've understood. So so everybody gets a 4-year suspension. That's what the suspension is unless you can mitigate the reason why.
Well, that's a career killer, man. So
it is.
So the reason for a 4-year because if you're in the Olympics and you test positive, it would eliminate you from the next Olympics?
You know what? I don't know. That would be a valid reason, but I'm not sure why it is that way.
Interesting. 4 years, man. That would be.
It would almost not be not worth even trying, because I'm not going to train for 4 years and not compete. It's to me, competing is the fun thing. Training sucks.
Yeah.
I don't love having practice every week and my arms feeling like crap for no reason.
Yeah.
So,
well, how's everything else going? How's life? How's the shooting going?
good. Matter of fact, it's been going great. I been helping some friends develop loads for their guns so they can start shooting at distances, and got plans to go shooting with my nephews tomorrow morning. Yeah, I enjoy it. I really enjoy it a lot. We got the hunting season coming up in October, and I've got a deer tag, and so does my son-in-law. So we're going to go and see if we can't find some decent critters to bring home.
Well, if you're ever open to it, I got lots of good spots up here, but you better pack your parka for deer season.
Well, it's hey, in the mountains of Utah during deer season, it gets cold and snowy and wet, so I'm used to it.
Right on.
But I didn't realize you were a hunter.
I used to be really into it, but around 2010, when I got into politics, one of our big conventions kind of overlaps with deer season, so it kind of fell off. And my father has been really bothering me to not bothering me. He's been bugging me about coming back out with him, so I'm going to do that this year.
Good.
And
so,
yeah,
the politics thing for you, is this something you want to do as a career? I mean, are you looking to expand on that, or are you just doing it for your community, or what you got going there?
I've been a city councilor in Portage la Prairie since 2010, so I'm coming up on my 10th year anniversary, and I got 2 years to go on my third term here, and then I'll either be completely out of it or I'll run for mayor. We'll see what happens.
So you're running for mayor. Let's be honest.
We'll see. Yeah.
Well, do you enjoy it then? Do you like being a public figure?
It's fulfilling, but it's not enjoyable, if that makes any sense.
So do you do it because you feel like there needs to be some stuff done, or what's the reason for it?
That. I didn't like the way things were going. Tried to make some changes. I think I have. Trying to improve the community for the whole community, not just parts of the community. There's a whole lot of reasons why we got into it, but yeah, I'm one of the old dogs on council now.
So is mayor a full-time job there?
It is not, and it doesn't pay very well. So
yeah, I was going to say it's probably a pretty small community like where I live, because we have a mayor of Mendon, and Mendon, like, we don't even have a store in Mendon. It's so small. So being the mayor is basically you don't get, it's just because you want to make a difference.
That's right. Yeah. So you get a little bit of money, but it's not like a career. So in my real estate business, I make way more money than I would ever do as a mayor of Portage. But yeah, I might do it anyway. We'll see.
Do you have plans to move past that? Maybe something bigger, like county or I guess Providence?
Maybe. We'll see. The door is open for that conversation, but I'm not going to seek that conversation. We'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on.
We'll see what happens.
Well, you're a very well-spoken, stoic individual. I think you would do well in politics.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and that's you don't have to pay me for that advertisement at all. It's from the heart.
Thank you, brother. Well, shall we get on with our days?
Yeah. Ryan, I appreciate your support through this whole thing and not being judgmental at all. And when I first called you about it, and I don't remember the words I said, but you said, if you say it, Kody, I believe it. And that meant a ton to me.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you standing behind me and showing that support and never being judgmental about it. It really does mean a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, those who know that, we just know. So
yeah,
it's I appreciate you coming on here and telling the story, and it's a good story to tell. I mean, people can look at it as a cautionary tale for their futures. It's educational for people, And plus, like, your name is cleared, so the people that were bashing you, they need to back off and find controversy elsewhere.
Well, there's going to be those people that are going to say no matter what he cheated, but I hope that person never has to go on high blood pressure medicine, because according to what his rules are, he has to stop competing because of it.
That's right. Yeah.
And they need to understand that there's medical reasons for stuff that are legit.
That's
and
right.
It's not because you're trying to be some superhuman arm wrestler.
Hey, I've been trying to talk my doctor into giving me TRT for years, and he just won't do it yet because it's not we can't get it as easily in Canada. But there's people that say that they never taken anything that enhanced their performance, and there's arguments that say everything you put in your mouth enhances your performance. So
yeah, I mean,
it's unless you're going to sequester everybody, we do the exact same training, eat the exact same diet. There's going to be differences.
Well, and you're right. I mean, there's people taking tons of different stuff out there. BCAs. I mean, they help protein be absorbed into your muscles. That would be an enhancement of some sort. And I drink BCAs all the time because it helps with my electrolytes big time.
Yep.
And it's just crazy what people think and say, that they just want to find excuses, I think.
That's right.
But hey, when I didn't know for sure if I needed testosterone, but when I got tested, so I guess the appropriate average for your insurance to pay for your TRT here in the United States is your testosterone count needs to be somewhere between, it's either 250 or 300 up to 900. And if you're anywhere in there, then you are considered normal. Well, I have an argument with that in one reason, that you would react differently to testosterone than I would. Maybe 300 works great for you, but it doesn't for me, and vice versa. But needless to say, when I had my test done, I was at 36. My TRT was clear down at 36, and my doctor, she said, Kody, I honestly don't know how you can walk in here and feel like a man with your testosterone level so low. So I was like way, way low on my testosterone.
Yeah.
It got to the point where, like, intimacy, I didn't care. Like, I had zero desire for that whatsoever. And I'm not good with that.
Yeah. So you needed it for sure.
Yeah, it was a big deal for me. And if I stopped arm wrestling tomorrow, I'm going to be on TRT the rest of my life, just because of how it makes me feel.
Yeah.
Like, just in general, it has nothing to do with me competing. Right. It just is for my livelihood.
Yeah, so, I hear you, and I understand that, and people need to do their research and understand that too. So,
well, sir, I again thank you very much for all you've done and supported me, and I really appreciate it, and hopefully soon we can be holding hands with each other.
I hope so.
Yeah.
All right, brother.
Okay, thanks, buddy. We'll talk to you later.
Enjoy your day.
All right, bye-bye.
Later.